What the hell is up, everybody? Louis back here again for another exciting Saturday of fights. UFC Vegas 60 already. Corey the Sandman Sandhagen taking on Song, the Kung Fu Kid Yadong at 135 pounds, men's bantamweight. My favorite weight class. Sandhagen coming off of 2 losses, really needs this win. And then Song, if he can get this victory, maybe even knock out Corey Sandhagen, then he's right there for the title because he's already got a win over Chito Vera. Got the title fight coming up in a month and a half. So the timing could not be better. Then in the co-main, you got NJOKUANI taking on Gregory Rodriguez. I mean, come on. Both guys on the rise. Both guys hit like trucks. Should be fun. Then you got Andre Fili taking on Bill ALGEO at 145 pounds. Bill ALGEO coming off that great win over Herbert Burns. And Fili needs a win, also coming off a devastating knockout. So we'll see what happens. And then you got the return of Tanner Boser after a year layoff. I mean, come on. You got Fluffy Hernandez. I mean, should be a fun one, man. Look closely, but should be a very fun card. Recap last weekend. I did good. Slight profit. I won more than I lost. But Julian Erosa, that one killed me. He was plus 190, and I bet on Hakeem. And Julian Erosa beat him up all 3 rounds, man. Hakeem missed weight by 4 pounds. I thought that'd be positive, but it wasn't. He just looked flat, so maybe there's injury, something going on there. But I got to rethink that about betting on guys that miss weight. But also, Chris Barnett made my night, plus 400. Low-level heavyweights take the underdog, guys. Okay, let's get into it. First fight of the night. 14 fights tonight. You got 155 pounds men's light heavyweight. You got Nicholas MOTTA taking on Cameron VanCamp. Nicholas MOTTA made his debut against Jim Miller his last fight. In the first round, he landed some jabs and 1-2s from range when he goes in and out of the pocket. But then he was able to rock him with the right crosses. Jim is stepping in, but then he eats an inside leg kick at range. He throws a jab and a lead left hook, but he gets blitzed with some straight lefts, and then he gets clinched to the fence, though. Then in the second round, he eats a counter right hook when he's throwing a left hook on the inside. He eats a leg kick when he's throwing his 1-2. It's too short. He can't really find the target there. But then he throws a head kick and it gets blocked. And then he gets dropped with the step and right hook and then just gets TKO'd by Jim. So, you know, just not keeping his hands up in the pocket with Jim Miller. So, and then Cameron VanCamp took on Andre Fiallo, his last fight. This was up a weight class to 170 pounds, also his UFC debut. In the first round, he gets pressured back, skirts the fence, eats some leg kicks, eats some jabs, but then he lands a counter hook. And he rushes, but then he eats a check hook from Andre, but then he gets KO'd with the counter left hook when he's throwing the uppercut in the pocket. So he decided to stand and bang with Andre Fiallo, and Fiallo hits like a truck. But it happens. Cameron VanCamp plus 165, Nicholas MOTTA minus 195. I'm going to go with Cameron VanCamp here, just based on the price. Nicholas MOTTA, not worth minus 200, can't get past Jim Miller. And, I guess they both got knocked out, but maybe he'll leave his hands down and Cameron VanCamp could get in there. I think it might go 1 round only, maybe. I don't know, but I think Cameron VanCamp has a good shot. This would be a coin flip. Go with the underdog, Cameron VanCamp. Okay, second fight of the night, 135 pounds, men's bantamweight. Should be a fun one here. You got Tony Gravely taking on Javid Basharat. Gravely took on Johnny Munoz his last fight. Quick one for him. Stalks forward, takes the center of the octagon pretty early. Lands left uppercut and a right cross, then a right uppercut inside the clinch, gets the KO. So who knew Tony Gravely could knock people out? And then he took on Simon Oliveira his last fight. First round, he landed straight right, but he eats a flying knee, but then he gets a takedown. And the whole fight, he's eating these knees, but he's not eating them fully. He's able to get a takedown off of there, so that's kind of his game. And then he's in the clinch, and then he's able to hook his legs on the ground, whatever. But then Simon gets the wizard kick, and then he gets kicked over into a guillotine, but he's able to escape, get in a half guard, land some ground and pound, and then he gets the back, and he keeps the wrist control, and then he's able to keep the clinch when he gets to his feet, and keeps tripping him back down on the mat, which you like seeing. Then in the second round, he misses a straight and uppercut, but then he's able to get the double leg from space, just kind of throws it, sticks it out there, gets the double, but then he misses a hook and he eats a counter and a knee to the body, but he gets the double leg off of this again, and then he eats some elbows in the clinch, and his single temp is defended, but then he lands a hook flurry off of there. Then in the third round, he eats a knee and a body kick, but he gets a takedown yet again, but he eats some straights and a body kick at range, but then he comes in, lands hooks, and he's able to rock him from there. And then he eats a back elbow, and then a knee, but then he's able to get the double leg off there again. So, you know, he can take so much damage and gets a takedown off of there. So let's just hope he doesn't get hit too hard. And then BASHARAT took on Trevin Jones his last fight. In the first round, he pressures forward, jabs from range, but then he gets clipped with some hooks coming in. He does a good job of like sidestepping and kind of trying to block roll his shoulders a little bit, but they're still kind of hitting him. But then he lands a step-in knee off of a step-in straight, and then he pulls his leg away from the single, lands the knee to the head, frames off of him, lands some elbows and uppercuts from there, and then he lands some uppercuts to the body toward the end. I like seeing that. Then in the second round, he gets pressured with some straights and over his jab, but then he eats a cross, but then he's able to circle out of range, not standing there to get hit. He's able to stuff the double leg again, but he gets clinched, but at least he doesn't get taken down. But then he's at range. He looks to counter off some straight shots. starts looking to pick his shots, being a little more strategic here, saving his energy. Then in the third round, he jabs whenever he gets pressed, but then he gets clipped with some hooks. But then he moves out, and then he goes in for lands the uppercut to the body, and then a head kick when he steps in. But then he lands a spinning head kick, and then lands another hook, but he eats a counter left hook off of there. But he looks pretty good. Basically, just kind of staying at distance and being smart. Javid is -165. Tony Gravely +140. It's a toss-up. I'm just going to go with Javid here if that line's not too terrible. And we have seen in past fights, Tony does get desperate later on as the fight goes. And even in this, even against Oliveira, he was eating knees. He was getting a takedown, but still. And, you know, he wasn't very dominant keeping him on the ground. And I think he's going to be harder to take Javid down. And I think Javid's going to be able to piece him up from range. Also, Tony does swing with a lot of power sometimes. And that might get him more tired and make him take a bad shot. So, who knows, though? I could be deadly wrong. Tony Gravely could just hold him down for 3 rounds, but the price isn't too bad. I like Javid. I like his striking capabilities. I think they're a little more advanced. My pick here is Javid. Okay, third fight of the night, 125 pounds, women's flyweight. You got Maria Agapova taking on Jillian Robertson. Should be a fun one. Both ladies need a win here. Agapova took on Marina Moros her last fight. In the first round, she skirts the cage, and then she stuffs the double, but then she gets clinched, but she's able to keep the overhook, but then she gets taken out of the double, gives up her back in some rear naked chokes attempts, but she's able to swim out, but then she defends the armbar, and then she's able to get the backpack position when they're back on their feet, but she doesn't hold it for very long. So she tries to make a comeback rally, but I still think she lost the first round. Then the second round, she gets pressured with some overhooks, but then she gets clinched and drugged down with a body lock, and she gives up her back, and she eats some elbows in the full mount, and then she gives she eats them from her back, and then she gives up the arm triangle and gets submitted. So she able to turn over, try to defend, but she picked her poison between 2 deadly poisons, I guess. She didn't really have a choice. So, you know, just kind of, you know, it seemed like she was just outgunned and she knew it, honestly. So, tough on 4. But then Julia Robertson took on J.J. Aldrich her last fight. In the first round, she circles, feints some jabs at range. Her single attempt is too far out, and then she eats a straight shot. So, yeah, really far out. And then the second round, she eats some short shots. Whenever she's stepping inside the pocket, she eats a right hook whenever she throws her kick, but then she's able to get the high crotch takedown, takes the back whenever in their sitting position, but then she gets reversed. So sometimes she rushes her grappling. We see this before in other fights. So, and then in the third round, she eats some jabs at range, but then she lands a straight shot to the clinch, but then she gets reversed from the clinch position, and then she eats a 1-2, and then she shoots and then gets pancaked over. So, you know, just not really setting the things up, in my opinion. And Julian Robertson, -135. Agapova, +115. I'm going to go with the underdog here. I think that it's going to go one of 2 ways. If Agapova can stuff her takedowns, I think she pieces her up on the feet. If she can't, I think Robertson submits her, TKOs her. So, but based on last fight, Robertson was shooting way too far out. I think Agapova can keep distance, maybe get taken down the first round, but I think she'll have a good round. I think she can stick a move and keep her off of her. I think and if she gets clinched, I think she'll be able to break off the clinch, maybe even get an inside trip defensively or something like that. But it's lower level women's MMA. Go with the dog. Also, over 1.5, -160. I like that one. My pick here is Maria Agapova. Fourth fight on the prelims, 155 pounds, men's lightweight. You got Trey Ogden taking on Daniel Zellhuber. Zellhuber making his UFC debut. Trey Ogden took on Jordan Levitt his last fight. In the first round, he presses with some side kicks and some straight rights to the body and the head. But then he slips on a kick, and Jordan just gets on top of him. And then he pulls the guillotine, rolls to the mount, almost has a submission, can't quite get it, though. So, a little clumsy, but he ended the round pretty well, almost finished it. And then the second round, he lands some step-in straights to the body, and then he sprawls on the single. He lands a hook and a body shot in the clinch. Throws a hook and a body shot so he can get to the clinch. That's kind of how he gets in there. And then eats some leg kicks when he's coming in. But then in the third round, he gets a front headlock off the double, pancakes him over, but he gets rolled off with the butterflies from Jordan Levitt. But then he gets a clinch off of his hook, and then he's able to get the back trip off of the fence. But then he eats some right crosses, and then he shoots, but then he gets pancaked at the end. So, a little desperate. Pretty close fight. Not great on the feet from either guy, but You know, it was a weird fight, to be honest. Then Daniel ZELLHUBER took on Lucas Almeida, his last fight in the Contender Series. In the first round, he skirts the cage, slides out of range, lands a step-in 1-2, then he eats some hooks off of a step-in leg kick, but then he circles and just keeps it moving and doesn't stand there to get hit. But then he slips the hook, and then he gets clinched from there, and then he eats an overhand rights against the fence, but then he gets clinched, but he's able to reverse the clinch position, always stays moving, has like an over-under situation. But then he lands a body kick whenever he gets pressed, and he leans out of range of the hooks, and then he lands a straight right in return. Then in the second round, he pulls the tie plum, but then he eats some body shots from there, but then he gets the hip toss into half guard, so kind of worked out for him. And then he back on the feet, he stalks, looks for some right crosses, but then he gets clipped with some counters coming in, but then he's able to lean back out of range of most of them now, and then he's able to land a head kick at range. In the third round, he slips the shot and he lands a hook flurry against the fence, and then he lands a jab and then some leg kicks, and he lands a straight right whenever he gets pressed. So it really started to find his groove toward the end of the fight and looked really good, but kept his hands a little low for my liking. But Trey Ogden's not a good striker, so. But ZELLHUBER minus 320, Trey Ogden plus 265. I'm gonna have to go with Trey Ogden just based on the odds. I'm sorry, Daniel ZELLHUBER is making his UFC debut. Trey Ogden didn't look great, but you know what? He did beat Jordan Levitt. Jordan Levitt is not terrible. I think ZELLHUBER definitely has the better striking, obviously, but I think Trey Ogden might be able to get a takedown here or there. We'll see what ZELLHUBER looked good over 3 rounds, but maybe Trey Ogden can put a pace on him, can clinch him up, but you know, honestly, I think ZELLHUBER's probably going to win, but with these odds, I'm going to go with Trey Ogden. You know, minus 320, I'm not going to lay it. Trey Ogden, let's pull the upset, baby. Okay. Then you got Denise Gomez taking on Luma LOOKBOONME at 115 pounds, women's strawweight. Denise Gomez took on Rayanne dos Santos her last fight. This was, yeah, Contender Series. In the first round, she gets pressured, but then she's able to land some head kicks, but then she gets pressed with hooks. But then she gets doubled whenever she's coming in towards her, but then she's able to get to her feet, and she's like still stays clenched, but she threatens the Kimura, which I guess was okay. Then in the second round, she stalks with light inside leg kicks, like very light, just touching her, but she throws a lot of them, and then she lands a right hook, and then throws it to the body, and then she gets taken down off of a flying knee, though, and she gives up her back, but then she stands up and escapes. Not the smartest move, so got to watch that. But then she walks into a straight shot, but there she's able to land the uppercut, and then she lands some hooks against the fence. Then she lands some jabs and some right crosses. Starts finding her range at the end here. And then in the third round, she lands some leg kicks and a right cross, but she eats overhand and an uppercut in the pocket. And then she jabs, but she backs out of range of the overhands. So, you know, looked good. Contender Series. Then Luma LOOKBOONME, her last fight she took on Lupita Godinez. She just got taken out in the whole fight. You know, that's what happened, basically. But before that, she took on Sam Hughes. We got some more data from this fight. First round, she gets pressed with the 1-2. Then she gets clinched, but then she's able to get the outside trip takedown. She gets clinched, but then she keeps the over-under hook against the fence, and then she's able to turn out, and she's able to get the trip, take her down, but she can't really hold her down. But then back on the feet, she stands at range. She eats a body kick and then a straight right. But then she gets clinched, and she gets the over-under, and then she gets the outside trip again. So I really like seeing that from her. Then the second round, she gets doubled from the clinch. She gives up her back, but then she gets clinched off of throwing a knee, but she's able to keep the overhook, and then she lands a knee herself right to the stomach pretty hard. And then she's able to stuff the single leg attempt, lands a 1-2, and then a head kick off of there. Then in the third round, she misses the overhook trip, though, and then she gets clinched, and then she lands some front kicks, but then she eats some jabs at range. So, you know, she looked good. I really like that defense from her. Instead of just working her way out of the clinch, she's scoring off of there, which I really like to see. Luma LOOKBOONME, minus 205. Denise Gomez, plus 175. Betting-wise, I'm going to tell you to bet on Denise Gomez because minus 200 for low-level women is crazy, but they can't. All these underdogs can't hit. But I'm going to pick Luma LOOKBOONME. But maybe go Luma LOOKBOONME by finish or something. I don't really know. But, you know, God help me. But my pick here is Luma LOOKBOONME. But don't put money on it, you know. Okay. Sixth fight of the night at 170 pounds, men's waterweight. You got Trevin Giles taking on Lucas COSCE. Trevin Giles, his last fight was at his 170-pound debut, coming down from 185. So let's see how he looks this fight. In the first... His first fight at 170, took on Michael Morales. In the first round, he lands some leg kicks and he drops him with a straight right, and then but he goes straight to the clinch, which I didn't really understand. But then he gets body lock, and then he's able to get the hip toss off the fence. He lands an arm triangle, but then he gets swept in reverse. Tries to keep it from the bottom, but can't get it. So I think he really messed up in that position, in my opinion. But then he rushes with the double, and then with a double jab, but then he gets rocked with a check right. And then he eats a flurry, and he misses the right hook, but then he eats a right cross, and then he gets dropped, and then TKO'd from behind with ground and pound. So, in my opinion, Trevin just really dropped the ball on that one. He had to do rocked, clinched him, took him down, went for an arm triangle. He should have just kept space and kept piecing him up. So, he rushed it, and then he rushes in and just gets cracked. A little careless, in my opinion. And then Louis COSCE took on Sasha Palatnikov his last fight. In the first round, he lands some stepping leg kicks, but then he gets taken down whenever he's stepping in to throw his shots, but he keeps the guillotine, and then he gets right back up. I like seeing him use that to get up, not just pull the guillotine and hope for the best. But then he catches the kick, and he gets the takedown to his back, lands some hard ground and pound. And then he presses with some 1-2s on the fence. Then he lands a flurry, and he drops him from there. But then he gets rocked with the right hook whenever he's coming in forward, a little careless. When his hands are down, but then he gets collar tied to the fence, and then he eats the elbow in the clinch. And then he shoots a desperate double at the end of the round, and it gets stuffed. And you can tell he starts to get very tired after this because he emptied the gas tank in the first. So, and then in the second round, his low single attempt gets stuffed. He shoots way too far out, but he pumps his jabs at range. He has his hands down, but then he gets collar tied again. And then he goes forward with some wild overhands, but then he lands a right overhand, but, you know, just kind of rushes in recklessly, you know. And then in the third round, he shoots a double off of Sasha's jab, excuse me. But then he gets stuffed on the fence. Can't really get these, and you know, as he gets more tired, takedowns are more desperate. So very hard to finish at this point. Then he lands overhand right in a pocket exchange. They're both kind of throwing. Then he lands some jabs, but he eats a right cross and a combo. And then he gets his double attempt to get stuffed. Then he eats some ground and pound from the front headlock position, and then he gets TKO'd from there. He was so tired. He was on his hands and knees after he shot. It was stuffed, and he just, like what Michael Chandler almost did to Charles Oliveira, this is what happened. So he couldn't even move out of the way. So that's how tired he was. So not a good sign. But Louis COSCE plus 180, Trevin Giles minus 210. Again, with the line here, dude. I'm not going to bet minus 200 on Trevin Giles. I'm sorry, that ring IQ was awful. Louis COSCE, yeah, he did fall off a cliff. But guess what? He almost finished him in the first round. And all these, you know, Trevin Giles, how often does he go the full distance, you know? So I think COSCE can get it done. I think COSCE might take some damage, but I think it'll be okay. Again, I think this might be, maybe this is a one-round war, you know? But I like COSCE here. I think he might be able to, maybe not get takedown, but I think he'll be able to stuff takedowns of Giles, clinch him up, and I think they'll just go at it, you know? But I don't know, man, but I don't like this line. I wish I had a better breakdown, but it's just kind of one of those feel things, and the line is speaking for itself. My pick here is Louis COSCE plus 180, the under 1.5 plus 120. I like that. Louis COSCE, let's pull it out. On to the main event of the prelims, 145 pounds men's featherweight. If you like grappling, you're going to like this fight. Damon Jackson taking on Pat Sabatini. Jackson took on Dan Argueta his last fight. In the first round, he's able to duck the hook, gets a body lock lift, and he takes his back, puts both hooks in. Then he gets a body triangle, but he takes the hook out. Then he gets reversed toward the end of the round. No big deal. Then in the second round, he lands a body kick, but he defends with the single with a knee to the head, and then he gets around the back with a body triangle in the seated position, but then he lands some punches from the back. Nothing too crazy, but stays busy. And then he's able to get the backpack position whenever Argueta tries to stand up. Excuse me. Okay. And then Dan turns out from the seated position. He's able to get out from there. But then he eats some hooks, and he gets taken down with a single toward the end of the round. Giving up some things toward the end of the round is what I noticed. And then in the third round, he gets pressured, throws a 1-2 and a head kick, but he eats an elbow in the clinch. Then he gets dropped with a short right shot. Then he swings wild hooks, and he misses. But he eats an uppercut, and then he gets clinched. But then he eats some straight shots, and he gets drugged down. He gives up his back, but he's able to swim out and end the fight on top. But, you know, Dan Argueta really came on strong in that third round. Also, Dan Argueta moved up from bantamweight to featherweight for that fight, so on short notice. So, You tell me. And then Pat Sabatini took on TJ Laramie his last fight. In the first round, his double is stuffed, but he gets clinched. Then he gets taken down with an outside trip. He threatens the triangle, but then he uses it to stand up. I like seeing that out of guys, just using it to stand up, not just go all out on a submission. Then he gets the double off of his kick, and then he gets the clinch, but he's not able to hold him there. But then he rocks him with a body kick and a head kick, and then he pulls the guillotine, but he can't get it. And then in the second round, his single is stuffed, but he gets clinched. But he goes for the body lock. He's not able to finish it from there. But then he gets a single from the clinch position, and then he gets his back, gets one hook in, lands some hard ground and pound from there to end the round. Then in the third round, he lands a lunge overhand, and then his high crotch is stuffed, and he gets clinched, but then he's able to break free out of there. Then he lands a low single off of a leg kick, and then he gets a trip from the clinch, and he's able to get his back from there. But then he gets reversed at the end, going from the back crucifix position. So, I don't know. It is weird. But gets reversed toward the end of the round, but, you know, he dominated the fight. In my opinion, Pat Sabatini minus 180, Damon Jackson plus 155. Tough one here, but Damon Jackson didn't look good in that third round. I think Pat Sabatini stays strong throughout all 3 rounds. I think he's going to be going for the takedowns. Who's the better grappler? I don't know, but Pat Sabatini training out of Gracie, Philly, I believe, with guys like Sean Brady and I believe Paul Felder and some other Philly killers. I'm forgetting their names. I apologize. But, you know, their whole team is, like, undefeated, and Sean Brady is an insane grappler. So, I don't know. Something about that Philly toughness. Not really statistics, but I just, yeah. And, you know, the striking, I don't know. You know, I think Laramie will be able to set up some shots on the inside, get the clinch, maybe even slow him down. But maybe the grappling negates itself and they both stay on the feet. I don't know. I just really don't like how Damon Jackson looked in that third round against Dan Argueta coming up a weight class on short notice. The minus 180 is not too bad. My pick here is Pat Sabatini, Philadelphia. Okay, first fight on the main card at 185 pounds, men's bantamweight. You got Anthony Fluffy Hernandez taking on Mark Andre the Powerbar Barriault. I believe I said that right. Hernandez took on Josh Friend his last fight. Represent Westmoreland County, Josh Friend. And in the first round, he circles off of overhand. He gets the clinch, and then he gets a single to the double, and he gets his back, tries the guillotine, and then he tries another double, and then he pulls the darts, but he can't get it. Fluffy Hernandez is really selling out on these chokes, but he's not getting them because Josh Friend is tough as hell because he's from Westmoreland County. Okay, and then he gets his hooks in the clinch, but then he eats a right over top of the jab. Lands some hooks in the clinch, but then eats a right over the jab. And then Friend kind of starting to come on a little bit in the second round here. And then in the second round, he gets a double to the fence. He gets his back, looks for the headlock, and he looks for the choke. But then he gets reversed with the high C. Sorry, front headlock position. He looks for another choke, but then Josh Frem's able to pull that high C, and he gets reversed from that position. And then Frem's able to reverse him with the Peterson there. Whenever Fluffy goes for that crucifix position from the back, weird position I've been seeing a lot. Then he gets up, then he gets doubled again and taken down off the fence, but then he eats a right cross, but then he's able to get the guillotine from the clinch. Frem just kind of leaned on him a little too much, and Fluffy pulls that guillotine. Frem kind of gave up the round, in my opinion. And then he lands some ground and pound from the back. But then in the third round, Fluffy, you know, his gas tank's refilled. He just pressures, and it's a hook in the clinch, and then a double, and then pulls some guillotines and darces, and he gets his back with one hook. And just kind of rides it out. But, you know, Josh Friend put up a hell of a fight on short notice, but Fluffy Hernandez put that pace on. He got reversed in the second round, caught a second win in the third round, looked amazing. And then Mark Barriault took on Jordan Wright his last fight. In the first round, he pressures, and he cuts off the cage, lands some overhand rights, and then he lands some uppercuts and body shots in the tie clinch, but then he gets doubled off the fence, pulls the guillotine off of a high crotch, and he's able to get the submission from there. So, pretty tricky. You got to watch him, but I think Fluffy's better at submissions. Then he took on Chidi NJOKUANI, got knocked out in like 20 seconds. But then before that, he took on Dolce Lugiambula. First round, he pressures that range, throws some jabs, but he walks into an overhand. And then he stuffs a double, but he gets hip tossed. He gets right back up, though. And then he lands a right cross on the fence, but not too much happens there. Just want to look at the first round. So, I don't know. We're in for an interesting fight, I guess. Mark Andre Barriault plus 170, and then Anthony Hernandez minus 200. I'm going to go with Anthony Hernandez here. Minus 200 is a little pricey. It's not terrible, though. I don't see what Marc-Andre Barriault brings to the table. He got taken out by Jordan Wright. I think Fluffy Hernandez is going to be able to take him down. Maybe even get a choke. Who knows? But and then before that, he took some damage against NJOKUANI, and just not a great sign. And then Hernandez is going to come strong for those 3 rounds, and his last couple fights haven't went that long. So I'm going to go with him. But you want Fluffy Hernandez, submission, plus 250, not a Brad Sprinkle. Fluffy Hernandez. Okay. Well, let's go to the second fight on the main card, 265 pounds, men's heavyweight. You got the return of Tanner, the Bulldozer Boser, about a year off, and then Rodrigo Nascimento Ferreira, a little bit of layoff as well. Tanner Boser took on Ovis St. Preux his last fight back in 2021. Ovis St. Preux up at heavyweight from 205 for a little bit. In the first round, lands some body kicks, and then he double jabs at range. He lands overhand right, but then he pumps some inside leg kicks. Nothing too crazy, but just tries to find his range. Second round, he lands a jab and then a step-in hook, but he misses, but he lands a leg kick, and then he backs out. And then he gets the clinch off of Ovis's level change, but then he gets tripped from the outside, and he uses the fence to get back up. Doesn't grab the fence, uses his whole fist, closed fist. It was legal. Everybody's complaining about it. But he stands up, and then he sprawls on his single, and then he lands, able to land a 1-2 back on the feet, and then he lands the knee to the head, then a 1-2, and gets the KO. So, you know, showed a little bit of progress there in the wrestling defense, and he's lost fights before against Ilir Latifi, I believe, with the wrestling. Just gives up takedowns, so... And then Rodrigo took on Alan Bedell his last fight. In the first round, he presses with some straights, eats some left hooks, but then he eats an overhand at range, but he pulls the overhook clinch whenever he gets close to him, and then he shoots a double, but he pulls him on top of him really bad, and then eats some hard ground and pound, but he's able to get up, back on the feet. He gets rocked with a jab and an overhand, and then a left hook. So, but he's able to survive the first round, and then he starts coming on in the second round. Second round, he lands some jabs, but he walks into a right hook, but then he pumps his jabs, lands 1-2 at range against the fence, but then he lands it straight to the body, and then the head, and then uppercut, and then some hooks, and just gets to take it out. Just kind of unloads on him, just looks for a spot. So, you know, looked okay. Not a great grappler, but he's big, and Tanner Boser is small. So, Rodrigo, plus 145, Tanner Boser, minus 170. I'm going to go back and forth. I think Boser is like the better fighter, but Rodrigo is huge. Tanner Boser might be looking to go down to 205. It's still low level heavyweights. We know that because Tanner Boser could not beat Andrei Arlovsky. And I'm going to go with Rodrigo here. Low level heavyweights, take the underdog. That's the rule. I'm going to play it. I think he might be able to clinch him up a little bit. Just get on the inside of Boser. As long as he doesn't allow Boser to pick him apart at range, I think he can do something. Hopefully he doesn't pull Boser on top of him, but Boser's takedown defense isn't great. So I'm going to go with that one. Who knows what will happen. Both guys coming off a layoff. So, but he won the whole fight to go over 1.5, minus 140. I like that one. But my pick here is Rodrigo Nascimento Ferreira. Next, we got a 185-pound matchup, men's middleweight. You got Joe Body Bags PYFER making his UFC debut off a great Contender Series fight, taking on Alan AMEDOVSKI. AMEDOVSKI desperately needs a win here. Joe PYFER needs a win here, so it should be interesting. PYFER took on Osman Diaz, his last fight in the Contender Series. In the first round, he pumps some jabs. He lands a blast double when he gets pressed. He gets around, and he gets the triangle, and then he takes his back. And then he gets the body triangle, a rear naked choke attempt, and he tries to get the mount, but he gets reversed, but he's able to slide him off his back. And then he's able to get the clinch back up on the feet. And then he keeps his hands up and just starts pumping his jabs. So I like seeing that. And, you know, and he stuck with the position. Didn't get discouraged, got reversed, no big deal. Like seeing that. And then in the second round, he lands an overhand right and then an uppercut to the body, but he eats a 1-2 off of a jab, and then he walks into an overhand, but then he drops him with a check left hook off of a body shot, and then jumps on him, gets a TKO. So, dude can crack, you know. It was like one shot and boom. Kind of out of nowhere. So those are guys you got to be careful for. Alan AMEDOVSKI took on Joseph Holmes his last fight. In the first round, he eats a jab, throwing a hook. Then he gets dropped with a jump knee, and then gets submitted with a rear naked choke, no hooks. So, and then before that, he took on John Phillips. In the first round, he gets dropped with the left hook whenever they're in a firefight. Then he eats a right hook to the body, and then another left hook, and then he gets KO'd from there. So, yeah, man. Just walks into firefights, doesn't have a chin. So, Alan AMEDOVSKI plus 370, Joe PYFER minus 460. I know, his line's insane. The Contender Series fade, I believe in that. Shout out to Clint. Also, but, you know, Alan AMEDOVSKI gets knocked out. Joe PYFER knocks people out. And UFC setting him up, giving him an extremely easy fight, in my opinion. He's on a 3-fight losing streak. you know, I'm going to go with Joe PYFER here. If I'm wrong, my God, it's going to be bad. But Joe PYFER by knockout, -165. That's his path to victory. Just bet that. Hopefully he wins. Put him in a body bag, Joe. Okay. The feature fight of the night at 145 pounds, men's featherweight. You got Andre FILI making his return, taking on Bill Senor Perfecto ALGEO. Should be fun. Andre FILI took on Joe Anderson Brito his last fight. Really rough for him. First round, pumps some jabs at range, circles in, eats a jab, and then overhand right, and just gets TKO'd from there. Basically knocked out, TKO technically. Just rough one, man. Joe Anderson Brito hits hard. Typically thought the first round, but he just couldn't outlast him and just walked right into him. So, but then before that, he took on Daniel Pineda. In the first round, he rocks him with a double jab. Then he defends the double. He's able to break off the clinch, and he rocks him with the right cross. And then he lands some jabs, defends the double, and then he's able to pull the clinch from there. Then he back on the feet. He jabs, but he eats some leg kicks when he's moving in. But then he lands a left head kick, and then a jab, and then a hook, and then a right head kick, excuse me. And then he hits a lat drop on him whenever Pineda comes in. So that was pretty slick. And back on the feet, he drops him with a liver kick and lands some hard ground and pound. Basically finished him, but he doesn't. Time runs out. Second round, he lands a left kick to the body, excuse me. Then he eats a left hook to the body and then right overhand, but then he's able to circle out, and then when he does that, eye poke. Fight's over because of an eye poke. Sucks, but he dropped him multiple times in that fight, and he was definitely on his way to victory. So, and then Bill ALGEO took on Joe Anderson. Actually, he took on Herbert Burns his last fight, but that's more of a grappling situation, and Andre is more of a striker. He does have some wrestling and grappling, but you know, I figured this would Joe Anderson Brito, common opponent. So in the first round, he gets clinched, then he gets doubled, but he gets right back up, but he gets doubled again, and then he gets his back taken this time, but he's able to turn into him and kind of reverse the position. But then Beck gets back to his feet, sprawls on the double this time, then he lands a jab at range and a front face kick, like seeing that. And then in the second round, he moves in and out with hooks, and then he blitzes, and he squares up and he rocks him with a right hook. And then he gets clinched, but then he's able to get the crotch lock as a defense. And then he lands some knees from the front headlock. So pretty good with that defense there. And then he gets pressed to the fence, but he eats some 1-2s, but he's able to defend the double and then get on top for the rest of the round. So like seeing that and putting in the mind of the judges that he finishes on top. Always a good thing. Then in the third round, he circles and he backs out of combos, and he lands a right hook to the body, and then he's able to get around to the back standing. And then he's back at range, starts pumping his jabs, but then he eats a jab at range, just kind of keeping his hands down, maybe being a little cocky. But then he defends the single and he gets the body lock trip, and then he takes the back, ends the third round beautifully. So Bill ALGEO +105, Andre FILI -125. I'm gonna go with Bill ALGEO. It's a tough one to tell. Is Andre FILI washed? I don't know. Bill ALGEO doesn't hit super hard, but Andre FILI coming off a tough knockout. There's always question marks there. And Andre FILI, decent grappler. Is he going to use it, though? Or is he going to try to stand up with Bill ALGEO? Bill ALGEO gets taken down, but he's funky on the ground. He uses it to get up. So, I don't know. I think as the fight wears on, I think Bill ALGEO will be able to wear on him. Maybe he gets beat up in the first round. Second half of the second round, third round. Maybe he gets his clinches, looks for a takedown, who knows. But I just don't feel comfortable betting Andre FILI. The line's kind of close. It's a coin flip for me, honestly, and I'm going to go with the underdog. Bill ALGEO, Senor Perfecto. Let's see if he's really perfect. Okay. The co-main event of the evening at 205 pounds, men's light heavyweight. I hope you like violence. I hope you like seeing people's heads get knocked off, because we got Chitty Bang Bang NJOKUANI taking on Gregory Robocop / Barack Obama Rodriguez. This should be fun. Both guys hit like trucks, and both guys are on the rise. It's a huge matchup for each guy, because if they want to get into those rankings or potentially get in there, they need to get a victory here. So, should be fun. Chitty NJOKUANI took on Dusko Todorovic his last fight. In the first round, he presses with some leg kicks at range, and then he sprawls on top of the single, but then he rolls through with the darts, but he can't get it. Don't know what he's thinking, but, you know, switches up a little bit. Gives him something to think about. He gets up his back, but then he gets to his feet, battles in the clinch, and then he sprawls on top of the double. Then he hits a duck under from the clinch position, lands some knees to the body, gets around the back, and then he lands a right elbow in the clinch, right on the break, gets the KO. You know, dude's nuts. Todorovic doesn't have the best chin in the world, but still. Chitty landed it perfectly. Timed it perfectly. So, and then Gregory Rodriguez took on Julian Marquez, his last fight. In the first round, he stalks forward, lands an overhand right, and then a left hook, and then a right cross, lands some step-in jabs, but then eats some leg kicks and a right hook. But then he drops him with the 1-2, gets around his back, nasty ground and pound, and he tries to get on the backpack position, but he can't get it, keeps the clinch, stays around his back, and lands some uppercuts to the body, and then he backs out of the, whenever Marquez presses him with some overhands and hooks, just backs out of range there. Doesn't just get hit for no reason. Then he lands a jab and uppercut off of his hook, and then he drops him with that. Then he lands a right hook, drops him again, and then lands a flurry on the fence. He eats some hooks in a firefight, but he can take these ones because he's sensing a finish, and then he gets the KO with the right cross. Beautiful. Julian Marquez, tough dude, nasty on the ground, has been getting a lot of finishes, and Gregory Robocop just ran through him. So, Gregory Rodriguez, plus 105. Chidi NJOKUANI, minus 125. I'm going to go with Gregory Rodriguez here. Another coin flip. Is it going to go over a round? Who knows? Gregory Rodriguez didn't get a show at his last fight, but, well, actually a little bit. And good in the clinches. Can take people's backs. Decent jiu-jitsu game. Pretty good, actually. So, I think he has that over Chidi. Chidi's, learning those things, learning those wrestling positions, his clinches. But Gregory's more advanced there, and I think they're going to bang. Gregory has more experience here. I think Chidi might get a little wild. I think Gregory could clip him, stay at range, land some straight shots, land a hook, and then if they get into a firefight, I guess it'd be 50-50, but you got to hope Gregory's chin holds up. Who knows? But it's a coin flip. Go with the underdog, Gregory Rodriguez. I think he can get it done. And then the fight under 1.5, plus 110. Why not? RoboCop. All right, on to the main event, 135 pounds men's bantamweight. You got a huge matchup here. Both guys don't need a win, but they really want that win. You got Corey the Sandman Sandhagen taking on Song the Kung Fu Kid Yadong. Corey actually kind of does need a win here. Song Yadong, if he could get a win, it'd be huge. Doesn't want to let this opportunity slip away. But should be awesome. And then you got the mini tournament going on. And like I said, you got the title fight coming up in October. And then you got Peter Yan and Sean O'Malley. And if Sean O'Malley wins, all hell's going to break loose. But and you also had Chito Vera with that huge victory over Dominic Cruz. Bantamweight is very interesting right now. Let's get into it. Corey Sandhagen, he took on Peter Yan his last fight last October. Basically a year layoff. 5-round fight, but Song Yadong hasn't been 5 rounds. I'm not going to go over all 5 rounds. But we'll go with the first 3. First round, he circles, lands some leg kicks and jabs, lands some front kicks and hooks. On the inside, when he gets on the inside, shoots a double, and then he's able to get the clinch from the back. Can't get it, but I like seeing Corey mix in those takedowns there. Even if he can't get them, give him something to think about. I like seeing that. In the second round, he eats some hooks to the body and kicks when he's coming in to range on Peter, but then he jabs and rips the body when he gets close. He eats a left cross at range, but then he gets a high C from space, but it's stuffed. Still going for it though. But then in the third round, he eats an uppercut and a hook when he's going inside the pocket. He lands some jabs, but they don't get through, and he eats an overhand and a hook while he's circling away. Then he lands some straight body shots, but then he gets dropped with a spinning back fist and a hook from Peter Yan. Then he eats some ground and pound, but he passes the leg, tries to get up, shoots a single, but then he gets his back taken, eats some ground and pound from there, but he's able to stand up. So that kind of the flurry arguably cost him the round, but battles through it. Tough dude. Gonna fight for your money. And then Song Yadong, he took on Marlon Moraes' last fight. Not a long fight. First round, rocks him with the step in right overhand, and he's at range. Lands steps in, rips to the body, lands a jab, but then he eats a jab, but then he lands a step in overhand again. Sorry, his step in overhand is blocked, but then he lands a right uppercut, and then he gets the KO. So just a sequence on the inside. One shot gets blocked, but he goes with that uppercut. And Marlon Moraes' chin is not a thing anymore, unfortunately, but still, big win for him. Young kid, got it done. And then before that, he took on Julio Arce. In the first round, he stalks at range, presses with some overhands and hooks, but they're a little too short, can't really find the target yet. But then he slides in, and then he lands a lead left hook. And then in the second round, he lands a step-in 1-2. It's a little too short, but then he lands a step-in left hook, which misses, though. But he's still trying to find his range, throwing some stuff out there, throwing some big power shots. But then he lands a body kick at range, lands some step-in elbows, and then a right head kick, and then a right hook. And then he rushes with the hook flurry, gets the KO. So it literally takes one shot from this guy. And, you're out. So that'll be interesting. It's a very interesting matchup. Song Yadong plus 160, Corey Sandhagen minus 190. I don't know. I was thinking about Song Yadong, but it's not that he only has punching power. I think that's his main path to victory, though. Corey Sandhagen's chin is decent by all accounts. Hasn't really took any monstrous shots, but you know, he can hang in there. Song Yadong hasn't fought a 5th round fight in the UFC. Corey Sandhagen has just fought 2 of those. And, you know, I think as the fight goes on, wisdom would say that Song Yadong kind of fades because he's the power puncher. He's going to be throwing more shots. I think Sandhagen can draw those shots out of Song. And I think Sandhagen might be in trouble for the 1st round, maybe 2. But I think he'll just keep on the outside, keep pumping his jabs, and maybe fake a takedown. Song Yadong has decent wrestling, but I think Sandhagen's going to be able to stop these takedowns. Not a great wrestler. They don't... Yeah, I guess they do wrestle in China, but Song Yadong just more of a power puncher guy. So, for lack of a better term. But I see Sandhagen taking it. I think he drags the fight out for the 5th round. I don't necessarily see a finish. I just kind of see him picking him apart at range. And, you know, I think whoever can win those inside battles, I don't think he's going to want to go inside with Song, but I think he'll start taking some space as the fight goes on, start jabbing him up, maybe land right over top of Song's shots, and maybe counter Song's hooks. But we'll see. Should be fun. I'm going to go with Corey Sandhagen here. I just think a little bit older, a little more experience in the 5-round fights. And I think Song's going to put on a good performance. I think Song can hurt him. I think he can crack him. I think it's going to be a great fight for both guys. All right, everyone. Thanks for rolling with me. I appreciate it. Finally had a winning week. 13 fights. Definitely got to have a winning week this week. So I appreciate all the support. Check the Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, all that stuff. Leave a comment down below. Like, share, subscribe. I really appreciate it. Comment. Leave some comments for me. I need advice always. Let's see some upsets. Let's see some violence. Let's see some profits. Good luck, everyone. Go get them. Go get some money.